Hey Booktube! Welcome back to another round of the Booktube SFF Babbles. This week is kind of an interim week to catch up or to share progress on the shortlist and how we're doing on the shortlist. I'm doing okay. I'm doing alright. I'm not doing as well as I hoped to be, but I started out in a pretty good place already. I'd already read most of the field in a couple of the categories, and I'm just not doing as well as I wanted to in the categories I still have to make headway in. I finished Winter on audiobook and mentioned it in a wrap up not too long ago. I also have a full Goodreads review posted. I ended up giving Winter 4 stars. I thought it was the strongest in the Lunar Chronicles series, and I really enjoyed it. The Lunar Chronicles series as a whole isn't my favorite, so I think my enjoyment of Winter is kind of like tamped down a little bit just by how much I enjoyed the rest of the series as a whole. But I do think that Marissa Meyer did a really good job of showing how to wrap up so many multiple interwoven storylines in a way that is not necessarily like happy for everybody, but is at least satisfying for everybody. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. It'll happen for some of the characters, but not other characters. And so I just think Marissa Meyer did a really good job of showing how it can be done for everybody without it being too like neat and like nicely wrapped up with a little bow on top. And then I also read Illuminae. Illuminae is probably my favorite of the ones that I've read so far, like not counting the ones that I had already read before the shortlist was posted. Illuminae is probably my favorite one so far. Man, once I got about 250, 300 pages into that book, it just took off like a rocket and I was gone. Like one sitting later and I was done. The formatting is really cool, although it can get a little gimmicky at times. But I really like that kind of tiny trend in publishing this last year or two to do those what are called like illuminated manuscripts. I read one called Zachary Dodson's Bats of the Republic, which I will link to down below. It's an adult illuminated manuscript, which means it's like doing that same thing. It's like collecting bits and ephemera and communications and like other ways of telling story that aren't just straight paragraph narrative. And I really, really like that. I like Illuminae for more than that. I think my favorite thing about Illuminae is the fact that Amy Kaufman was able to write, or Jay Kristoff. I'm not sure who did what. I'm gonna go with Amy Kaufman did most of the writing and Jay Kristoff did most of the like other stuff, but I don't actually know. So if you do, please enlighten me. But I feel like Amy Kaufman writes teenagers really well. And as a young adult librarian, I spend a lot of time reading dialogue between teens, and it's usually done really badly. They either do this like Dawson's Creek style, like hyper speak for teens, or they do this like teens really want to talk about their feelings kind of thing, which like I don't know any teen that does either one of those things. But I felt like Illuminae really hit it on the head with the, like, yes, the swearing, but I feel like it wasn't, like, too bad, mainly because it's blacked out. I feel like if they hadn't blacked it out, the swearing would have been, like, much more noticeable. But I'm just talking about, like, there's that jocularity between teens, especially teen boys, and there's that sense that, like, they don't really take anything seriously, even when it's something very serious. So I just really felt like that came across really well in Ezra Mason and in the people that he talks to, especially his other male friends. But even the way he flirts with Katie, I thought came across really well. I was like, meh on the romance in the book at the beginning. I understand that the romance is like kind of a huge motivating factor. So it's not as annoying as it could have been, but it wasn't my favorite part. So I have pretty much, well, not pretty much, I have wrapped up the young adult nominations category with Winter, Illuminae, Six of Crows, and Carry On. And then I have read all but one of the graphic novels still. I still have to read Descender Volume 1. I'm kind of saving it to be one of like the last ones that I read because it's going to go so quick that it's just going to be a nice little like cherry on top of the Booktube SFF Sunday. And then the short works. I haven't read any of them, guys. Not one, not a single one. Not Binti, not Midnight Hour, not Perfect State. Not a one. And I need to because they're short. And from what I hear, Binti is supposed to be like extra super amazing. Thomas gave it a 5-star review on Goodreads, which like hardly ever happens. So I'm really, really looking forward to them, but because they're all digital, I think I just don't see them as much. So like it's not quite as pressing. Like they're not sitting there on my shelves literally being like, hey, you, read me, pick me up and read me. But that doesn't change the fact that it does need to happen and that I do need to do it. And then in the adult fiction category, I've only read A Darker Shade of Magic, and I did not care for it. I gave it 2 stars on Goodreads. I felt like it was a lot crammed into very little. I'm not quite sure what the sequel or the companion novel is even going to be about. And I just felt like it couldn't quite make up its mind about what it wanted to do with its characters or what it wanted to be as a book. So I didn't really care for it very much. So there's that. So I still have to read all 3 of the short works, and I still have to read Shadows of Self. Shadows of Self. N.K. Jemison's The 5th Season. And I already read Uprooted. So I only have 2 more adult books to read. And then, I will be done with the shortlist after that. Doesn't sound like much, but it's not quite as ahead of the game as I wanted to be. So that's my babble. If you want to give me your shortlist update down below, please feel free. If you're making a video of your own, please feel free to go on over to the Goodreads SFF Babbles discussion group for this week and link your video so that I can go watch it. I have been loving doing that, especially with the booktuber shoutouts that went up a couple weeks ago. Have so many more people to follow now on Booktube because of that. So definitely participate if you're making videos of your own. And of course, like I said, you can always just comment down below if you're not making your own video. Guys, that's my progress. Let me know how you're doing. As always, you can like, subscribe, and do all of that down below. Come chat to me on Twitter, Goodreads, Instagram. I'm all over the internet, and I'd love to see you guys. All right, happy reading.